Hey everybody, my name is Miasma and I'm back with another video. We're coming up on Halloween pretty soon, and one thing that I really wanted to touch about, something that's kind of lingered in my mind for a while, is the concept of horror anime. And it's something that I've talked about in the past on this channel and even on some of my friends' channels. It's that there's two genres in anime that don't really resonate with me all that well. With in each branch of that, there are obviously exceptions to the rule, like with everything. But horror anime and comedy anime. Now, comedy anime gets a little more leeway with me because I found more comedy anime that I actually found funny than I have found horror anime that I found scary. Um, and my problems with most comedy anime are that it's a lot of like cultural differences. Like what Japanese audiences tend to find funny, I don't necessarily find funny. So I guess maybe it's not necessarily like anime's fault with that. It's just I don't know, and that's something that's not consistent. But not consistent in all comedy anime. But let's get back to horror. Um, Horror is a genre that I don't think gets enough attention in anime. Like there aren't really that many horror shows. I think that typically the shows that people will categorize as like horror esque um, are just kind of like edgy shit. Like it's just kind of like people might put like Tokyo Ghoul or something, um, like stuff that like involves just a lot just like gore. Maybe even some parts of like Elfen Lied. But that's not really like horror. Like that's just kind of like gore for the sake of like having gore. Now, don't get me wrong. There are parts of both of those shows that I just mentioned that I enjoyed while watching them. I still really enjoy Elfen Lied. Um, but it's not like a horror show. When I think of like a horror thing, and horror is sort of an umbrella term here. But what I want is like a slasher. Like I want Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the anime. Like I want one of those. And we don't really have that. The only sort of like exceptions that we have are the very few anime that have actually sort of touched on what those Western movies do. And like a prime example that I always think of is Shiki. Now, if you've never seen Shiki, it's a vampire story, and no, I don't consider it a spoiler that it's a vampire show, because you're gonna have to tolerate you have to tolerate with the fact that most of the main cast doesn't realize that they're dealing with vampires for like a majority of the show because they're all pretty dumb. But Shiki is a vampire story about this like town in the middle of nowhere that gets slowly taken over by these vampiric beings, and it's a lot like it's almost like a like direct parallel with Stephen King's Salem's Lot, if you've ever heard of that novel. In the sense that like you have this remote area that's sort of cut off from the world being taken over by vampires. 30 Days a Night. Now that I think about it, also in a similar vein, and the while on its like it's a story that's kind of been done before. Like when you're watching Shiki, I mean, I was like okay with it because it's very entertaining. Entertaining. Not only is it like aesthetically pleasing, um, it really pulls you into that environment, like that world, like the ambiance of being scared of these creatures, being scared of the unknown, being scared of the darkness outside. Um, Being scared to go to sleep because often people die in their sleep in this show, um, and it has really good ambiance of being scary that I don't think you see in a lot of anime. And while it's a relatively slow show right at the beginning and it's really like campy and like I said, the characters aren't really that likable for the most part. Um, it raises a lot of like cool points as to um, what monsters actually are, and can human beings actually become monsters themselves when they're trying to defend themselves, or they're doing what they think is right. So I highly recommend checking out Shiki if you never have. If you're someone that's dying to watch a horror anime with Halloween coming up, Shiki is usually the one that I recommend to people Like usually like the first thing that I think of. Maybe if I could see maybe if you're not like into vampires, maybe you might not like that kind of thing. Which is another point that I want to bring up. I want like a werewolf anime that's not Dance in the Vampire Bund. Okay, not that. That had a werewolf in it, but he wasn't really that cool. I want like a werewolf, like a violent werewolf anime. And I don't care if it's violence for the sake of violence. I want the werewolf tearing people up. All right. People seem to be okay with violence in other shows. They don't seem to mind like cutesy characters getting mauled and beaten and raped and shit and all this fucked up shit happening to them. So what? You know, why can't we have a werewolf doing it once in a while, or like some other like I don't know, like a ghost or some shit. I don't know. I want more of that. Like I want more. And on the subject of that, like I wish that I feel like for some reason in anime it's very often that the victims are like these cutesy little characters. And why can't we have more characters that are adults getting murdered? They don't have to be complex characters. Friday the 13th typically does not have complex characters going to Camp Crystal Lake. You got a bunch of teenagers that are just going to smoke weed and fuck and do a bunch of stupid shit at the camp, and they're just all bodies that need a machete through them. And that's fine for me. That's plenty of entertainment. I could turn my brain off and watch that. You don't have to be astounded by everything you watch, as long as it's just, you know, entertaining you. And you know, I want a slash anime to entertain me. Now, my last big problem that I have with this whole thing is that it's not as if that the Japanese I don't know, culture, or culture's probably the wrong word. Japanese people can do horror. They do horror incredibly well. Look at Ringu. Look at Audition. Okay? Look at the original Grudge. Like, they do awesome horror. Audition's a great film, by the way. If I have to stop this for a second. You have to watch Audition if you haven't. It's a fantastic film. But they can do creepy. They can do scary. They can do some jump scares if you're into that. And I know someone's going to bring up Yami Shibai in here. Yami Shibai is entertaining for like a couple minutes, and then it gets old real fast. And it's very, very inconsistent. So if you're going to bring up Yami Shibai as an example of good horror anime, like, good job. You're good like 5% of the time, alright? I want more consistency here. And there is actually one really good horror manga that I've read, and I'm actually going to revisit it. And I'll probably make a video about this in the future. Ibitsu by Haruto Ryo. This is a creepy as fuck manga. It's like essentially about this guy who he comes across this like Lolita girl, this creepy, disheveled, like homeless looking chick by a dumpster, and she asks him a question, and he answers, and then seemingly nothing happens, and then she proceeds to stalk him, go into his house while he's asleep and shit, and just she does a bunch of fucked up stuff, and it gets gross at times, and it's just really, really eerie and creepy, and I love that. And why doesn't that have an anime adaptation? I don't know, man. I mean, it's a really like lesser known thing. Like, why do we have so many seasons of, I don't know, it's not really horror, but like Hellgirl, and we can't get it a Bitsu anime? Why do people focus on Tokyo Ghoul if you bring up like, I want to see a scary anime? Oh, it's so scary, he's eating people. Like, that's not necessarily scary anymore, okay? I don't know. I'd like to be genuinely creeped out by an anime. I'm watching Happy Sugar Life right now, and that is sort of, it's close, but it's more intriguing because it's about, like, this murderous girl, and it's kind of a cat and mouse game. But I'm going to make a video about Happy Sugar Life in the future, too. Man, this is just an advertisement for videos coming in the future. But basically, yeah, guys, I want, like, a slasher horror anime, or, like, a werewolf one, or something that's, you know, closer to what Japanese people have done in live-action films. That's what I want for Halloween. If I can have, like, a Halloween wish, there we go. That being said, I am going to look into checking out some more horror-esque anime this month. Big shout out to Nia-chan for her kind donation on Patreon this month, where on my Patreon you are allowed to have me vote. You are allowed to have me suggest an anime for me to review. Couldn't say that for some reason. And she has pointed me in the direction of Angels of Death, which was a recent anime. I know very little about it besides like some trailers and stuff like that. And from the trailers, it kind of looks slashery. So maybe I'll like it. Who knows? It'll be a good one for Halloween. There are other Halloween-esque anime that I want to check out. So hopefully I'll get some reviews out for those for you guys, if I can learn how to talk. Sorry, guys. Are there horror anime that you think that I should check out? Let me know down below. Or are you like me and you want to see some kind of different stuff? And one last thing, don't bring up Higurashi either, because I saw season 1 of Higurashi. I get what they're doing. It's just not my cup of tea. Again, I don't like the little girl anime characters kind of deal. And Corpse Party, same shit. Like, I hate to be super picky about this, but I want what I want. So, if you have any suggestions that aren't those things, please put them down below in the comments section. I do have a Patreon. Check it out in the description box. And as always, thank you all for watching so much. My name is Miasma, and I'm signing out.